got some mail here. I want to see what's in it. One of them's from England. First thing, I got my push-in style with the set screw for the tension adjustment. This is for a Charvel that I ordered, which you will be seeing an upgraded video. This here's my bin of parts that go on guitars, as opposed to just random parts I have laying around. Got the 5150s out. Got to get this original PB1 looked at. It's making a weird hum that is intermittent. I want to show you my address here, of course. Phantom Music Management Limited. That font probably looks familiar to you guys. Monsters of River and Rock, My Life as Iron Maiden's Compulsive Angler by Adrian Smith. Ooh, look at those gold fish. Is that a carp, I think? Very nice. To James, all the best, Adrian Smith. Thank you, Adrian. And thank you, Mary Henry, for getting this in my hands. Excellent. I look forward to reading this. I've read the Snoop Dogg, the Willie Nelson, the Linus Torvalds, the Linux creator, and now Adrian. Oh yeah, and Dave Mustaine, I've read his as well. So should be a good one. So I've mostly been messing around with the GT-1000CORE, dialing in presets and kind of just figuring it out, seeing how I can get my sounds out of it. And don't mind the DD200, that's just here from a previous video. I haven't really been using it, but I do have it connected to my computer. I've been mainly using the Tone Studio app on my computer to edit the presets, but I've done a little bit of menu digging as well. Additionally, it's been my sound card. I haven't really done much recording with it, just a little bit, but it is currently playing all my system sounds through my monitor speakers. And I'm starting to get some good tones out of it. There's a few things I notice about the effects on it. For one, all the reverbs seem quiet. Now, let's go over to the Tone Studio here. So there is a setting under Total Setting. You can turn the total reverb level up to 200%. And you can also change the noise gate threshold. So what this does is it'll still respect the sort of proportional settings in your presets, but it's sort of like this means 100% of how you have it set, or do you want it 200% of how you have it set? So if it's set at 50% in your preset and you have this at 200, it would now be at 100. And the idea here is if you go to a venue that's a very live room, it's got a lot of real reverb in the room, then you can turn this down. Or if it's a dead room, you could turn it up. Same noise gate, maybe different pickups or just more noise because of the power you're plugged into. But I've found that I like turning this thing up to 200 anyway because the reverbs seem pretty quiet to me at 100% mix. So what I've done, instead of just setting it to 200% overall, I've put a EQ after the reverb, and the reverb's on its own branch from a divider. So I have the reverb set to 100% wet with no direct signal, and then the direct signal's coming in on this other chain, and then in the mixer I have the two different levels. Let me show you that real quick. See, in the mixer, B level is at 39, so that's actually my reverb level, but what I've done is I just put an EQ after the reverb, and this way I can really dial in the tones. I've gotten it a bit closer to the MXR, which has sort of an overall thicker, warmer kind of a sound to it. And I can even get a little more of the drippiness of the spring reverb to kind of come out by using post-reverb EQ. Similarly, another thing I've noticed for my delay, I have the modulation depth turned all the way off because I found on these Roland delays, even if you are listening to 100% wet signal of delay, no direct level, and so you're only listening to the delay repeats, when you turn on modulation, the delay repeats sound chorused, as if it's the delay signal along with the pitch modulated signal. I prefer a modulated delay to be more like a delay through vibrato. So the pitch of the delay will go up or down, but you don't hear that against the delay without the modulation on it. So it doesn't sound like chorus. Of course, on top of your regular note, the echoes will be, if you sustain a note long enough, the echoes will be out of tune with the note, and that will create a chorusing effect. But that's kind of a bummer on this, that's how all the modulated delays sound on this Boss unit. So what I've done is I've taken the modulation off, I've added a chorus block, but I have it and the direct level 0, which makes it a vibrato because you don't hear the direct level. So now that's just a delay with its pitch going up and down, which is what I prefer, which is how it sounds on the boost delay from Tech 21. So I've managed to kind of approximate a couple of my favorite pedals, but to do so I had to use dividers and extra effects blocks. Now luckily there's enough of them in this unit to kind of play with the tones like that. Now you may be wondering, why would I use a chorus set to 100% effect, no direct, to get a vibrato effect when there's already a vibrato effect in the effects blocks? Well, the answer is there's only 3 effects blocks, or 4 if you don't mind running the unit in mono. I use stereo reverb, so for me there's only 3 effects blocks. But there's a dedicated chorus block, so that way I'm able to use it to get the vibrato effect while still keeping my 3 effects blocks open for use. Now, sort of ironically, for my clean channel here, I am using FX3 as a chorus. But here's what I find interesting about the GT-1000 to GT-1000CORE. If you go to the actual dedicated chorus block, you can select mono, stereo 1, stereo 2, or dual. That's it, 4 choices. Yet, if you go to the effects block and you select chorus, you get mono, stereo 1, stereo 2, dual, prime, not sure what that is, CE1 chorus, which is what I'm using, and CE1 vibrato. So you've got a couple more things here that you can't get off of the actual dedicated chorus block, which is a little weird. You think the chorus block would have the most comprehensive list. Conversely, the master delay, or the main delay block, has a number of different types here, whereas all your little sub-delay blocks, like delay 1 here, there isn't any of that. It's a very basic delay. So the chorus block, dedicated chorus block, less options than using an effects block. But the master delay, more options than one of the little auxiliary delay blocks. So, I mean, these are just little idiosyncrasies about the GT-1000 and GT-1000CORE, but I'm just kind of learning them as I go. So I'm ending up using the splits quite often, and I'll just have the effect side of it set up to 100% wet, so you're not hearing the direct, and then I'll use a mixer afterwards to dial in the amount of the effect signal, you know what I mean? And this is kind of what I was doing on my pedal board with the delays. I had parallel delay and reverb and stuff like that, and I had to use actual splitter cables and an external mixer. This guy right here. So my pedal board was running into this, and so this does make it a bit simpler in that you can do that kind of routing. If I had my druthers, I probably would have had at least 2 reverb blocks, or have reverb as one of the selectable effects in the effects block. And then I don't need 4 separate delays and then a master delay. Like maybe for shoegaze or something like that. I don't know, like you want to have a U2 The Edge preset that has 2 different chains of the edge delay. That's a lot. 4 delays plus master delay, so 5 delays you can have. But only 1 reverb, you know what I mean? And that's kind of weird to me, because I can totally see wanting to have, say, a spring reverb for your Fender amp clean tone, and then like a Hall or plate reverb on your like distorted lead tone. Now there's ways you can rig that. You can have it switch the reverb type, but you might have totally different settings you want to load. So you can do it just by switching patches in that case. But if you switch patches between one reverb type and another reverb type, then your reverb trail, it'll carry over, but it'll carry over as the new reverb type. So my spring reverb from the clean preset isn't going to carry over with that sound as the say the Hall reverb of a lead preset is starting to reverberate. So really I wish this thing had 2 reverbs. That's kind of part of the reason why I'm going to be using an external reverb. I'll probably still use the internal one, but I just need 1 additional one so I can spill over, and again, because I'm very specific about the spring sound in particular, and the MXR really gets that sound for me. So, but I do like the reverbs on here. They're good quality reverbs. So I was able to do it. I was able to get my preferred modulation style on the delay, as well as pretty good reverb sound. Although in the end, I still might use those other two pedals. You know, they're just a little bit more to my liking. Plus, I'll be able to do spillover and so forth better with those. Sort of considering different approaches. The GT-1000 is just kind of sitting on this pedal board, but I was thinking of using this ADA. It's just approximately the same width as this Classic 2 from Pedal Train, and then using the core and maybe a couple other pedals on this board, and that gives me direct access to 10 presets without banking up or down, which is kind of neat. And I could put an expression pedal on there if I wanted. I have the EV5 over here. But I also thought, you know, this might be an opportunity to bust out some of the analog. There's no dimension model that I can find on the GT-1000. There's a bunch of different choruses, but nothing that's specifically the dimension C. You might be able to get a similar effect using a pitch shifter with detune, like fixed detunes. CE2's there. Moore E-Lady's kind of fun. But this is my current pedal board. So I was thinking of sort of just removing the power stack, the radar, and the compressor and the EQ, those 4 pedals, and then replacing those with the core, the GT-1000CORE. I think I could get it to fit. I have to move a few things. And then that would allow me to get pretty much all the same effects, routing and stuff, but I would be able to get different amp models, because the way it is now, I just have the stack sound going through the radar. There are presets on the radar, but the only way to switch it is to turn the knob. So there's no like switching between, you know, a 212 open back cabinet for your clean tones and a closed 412 for your distorted tones, for example. And my clean tones currently are just using this CS3 as sort of a preamp, you know, like this is my clean tone, this is my distorted tone. So that's kind of why one of the reasons why I looked into the GT-1000, because I wanted to get more tones between totally sparkly clean, jazzy or thicker cleans, subtle breakup, all the way to the high gain stack sounds. And with this board, I'd have to have like one pedal for each of those, you know, so we'll see what happens.